Good morning, everyone. So we're going to shift a little bit from night skies. We're still going to stay in the region of the sky, but a little bit of daytime. Hopefully, I'm not catching anyone off guard. You all know there's eclipses coming, right? Who doesn't? Awesome, wonderful. So you might hear that total solar eclipses are a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to observe them. They're not. They occur anywhere on the planet every 18 months. But it is rare and unique for you to live somewhere where you're not going to have to travel to see one. We have a tremendous opportunity in the fact that we have both an annular eclipse occurring in less than 3 weeks, and then 6 months later, a total solar eclipse on April 8th of 2024. If that date has not been ingrained in your brain, it will be by the time we're done with this panel. But one of the things I really want to highlight, and one of the reasons why we've convened this panel today, is that since October of 2020, Hill Country Alliance has been convening quarterly roundtable meetings of community members, of city leaders, county leadership, emergency management folks, pretty much individuals from every aspect of life to prepare for these two upcoming eclipses, especially because, and this may be the shocker, the April 8th total solar eclipse, we're expecting anywhere between 800,000 and 1.5 million people in the Hill Country alone. Not as many for the annular, but we do expect a lot of folks to come. So these groups have been meeting on a quarterly basis. In the last 2 months, we've started convening bi-weekly lunch and learns, and our Hill Country Eclipse team is now upwards of 600 members across over 23 counties and across over more than 60 communities. And the folks that you are going to be hearing from today represent a wonderful array of individuals working within their respective communities and within the areas of education, of tourism, and of emergency management that will hopefully give you a little bit of an interesting insight into how we're preparing for these two phenomenal events that are occurring in less than a year. So at this time, I'd like to ask up to the stage Blair Manning, who is the Director of Tourism and Marketing for Burnet County. Randy Millican, who is the Emergency Management Coordinator for Kimble County. And Sarah Rowley, who is the STEM Education Manager for the Witte Museum. All right. Now, I told you their names and their titles, but there is a lot more to what these folks do. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a minute or so to just give us a brief overview of what your work entails and maybe a little bit of what your involvement is in eclipse planning. Sarah, do you want to start? Rowley?
Hi, y'all. So I'm Rowley. I'm the STEM Education Manager at the Witte Museum down in San Antonio. And I am also one of the co-chairs of the Informal Education Committee of the Alamo STEM Ecosystem. So here's what that all meant. So the Alamo STEM Ecosystem is a network of organizations that are trying to improve STEM learning throughout the region. There are STEM learning ecosystems all over. There's one that's statewide for Texas. There's one in Austin. And then San Antonio, Bexar County, we have our Alamo area one. And within that, we have a group of folks who are informal education. That's education happening outside of the classroom, and I'm leading that particular group. So we've got the Witte Museum, the Doozium, we've got KLRN, which is our local PBS station, the libraries, some of the colleges are involved, of course, Scobie Planetarium, and this year we are focusing all of our efforts on the eclipses. We are creating a year-long celebration of all things space. We're calling it Celebration Celestiale, and we're trying to get all of these different organizations working together to create a large-scale communication, education message that everybody in our region will hear, which is eclipses are coming, be safe, and oh yeah, there's some cool science in there too.
Excellent. Randy?
Hi, I'm Randy Millican. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. And I say that now because I'm hopeful you'll take away something I said that's good and not remember the things that are bad, because my county judge is in attendance today, so your applause will be helpful later. I am the Emergency Management Coordinator for Kimble County and the City of Junction. We have a joint center, and we've been planning for these eclipses, or as I put an article in the paper early on, it said eclipse or apocalypse. It's all in the planning, and that's the whole point of, I think, me being here today is kind of express what goes into one of these from a small rural area's point of view. It's been quite a task, but I've had a lot of help getting it done, and I look forward to telling you something about it and answering any of your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Randy. We want to make sure we have our mics up pretty high so we can get into the seats in the back. Blair.
Is this good? I can hear myself, so it's got to be good. All right, I am Blair Manning. I am the Tourism and Marketing Director for Burnet County. This was actually a position that we had on a contract basis up until January 2022. Post-COVID, we saw so much growth from our short-term rentals, which is an area that I work in. Essentially anything that is going to bring people into our area, bringing heads into beds. Shortly after taking on that position, I became fully encompassed within the Eclipse. Whether that's the task force that we have started, different coalitions that I've been a part of, and different presentations that I am now giving to different organizations.
And that is your time.
That was my time.
So I want to start asking you all three to kind of give your perspective. What are some of the aspects of planning within your respective Eclipse groups that you are undertaking that may be unique just to your specific communities? I'll start with you, Blair.
So as I spoke, my specific community, tourism and marketing, I then created our Burnet County Eclipse Task Force. I now oversee the marketing and communications division of that task force. And when creating this task force, we wanted to include other representatives from our surrounding counties, such as Blanco, Lampasas, Llano. We recognized early on that travel was going to be beyond our county lines, and the more that we can work cohesively together, we can then ensure an enjoyable experience for all. Then I began outreach to all of the cities within our counties, their chambers, other nonprofits, our schools, HOAs and POAs, reaching out to them to just create preparedness and awareness. We are trying our best to create collaborations between locals and visitors that will just ensure a great experience for all. Part of the way that we're doing that is with our tips at a glance. We have created a one-page sheet for locals, for businesses, and for our tourists. Just a very quick way for them to be able to have the best experience that they can.
Excellent. Same question for you, Randy.
Ours has been quite an experience because it's been an opportunity for our community to work together in one accord to get our county and our city ready for what's about to come. Now, you'll hear from me some of the bleak, deep, dark things about it. There are some fears that come with planning. One of those has been enhanced every time I have called someone who has been through an eclipse in the past, and they tell us about the problems with traffic control, injuries, accidents, people just kind of doing their own thing. So we have had to bring all areas of our community together we've created a task force to actually address the problem. And my job is to foresee problems like, how many of you know that somewhere in the United States, okay, maybe the world because it's a spectacular event we're about to have, there's some pregnant lady who's saying, I think I want to go to Junction, Texas and have my baby during the eclipse. That's kind of what we have to plan for because every time we listen to the news or read an article, it's yada, 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 Junction, Texas, yada, yada, eclipse, yada, yada, clear skies. If I had to go anywhere in the world, sir, I would go to Junction, Texas, because there's a greater possibility of clear skies on the day of the eclipse. That sends terror into my heart, because we have an opportunity to overcome challenges, shall we say. And I am so proud of how my community has risen to that challenge, and everybody working together, all on the same page, but each one addressing a different area of the problem to come together. Because, as we like to say in Junction, this is Junction, welcome to it. It's a wonderful place to live, but please don't stay, especially if you're from out of the United States. But the other thing is, they're going to leave with an impression of our city and our county. And we have worked hard to make that a favorable impression.
Thanks, Randy. Rowley.
All right, well, we got doom and gloom here, and then flip side over on the education is the joy and excitement and getting everybody to experience this wonderful moment that is known for being life-changing. Folks go out and experience an eclipse and they say, I remember that for the rest of their lives. So we want to be, from the education side of things, getting the word out so everybody knows to go have this moment and all be united in this moment. When there's so many things that are divisive, the education side of folks were like, hey, this is something we can all come together and experience together. And, from the nonprofits all working on our education message, we're used to supporting each other, but all coming together for a collective series of programs of collective experience all on the same day, that's a little new for us. And this is actually one of the first big collaborative efforts that our particular group is putting together. Our focus starting out was really, first we had to clarify what our message was, and then we had to start thinking about how are we going to get the word out effectively. And so we said, everybody in our region is going to be experiencing this. So we want to make sure we're starting with our local audience, because the tourists coming in, they know there's an eclipse happening. That's why they're coming here. But we want to make sure the folks here are already prepared. And we also want to communicate with the teachers. So we started with the educators and with community volunteers. We're training trainers, we're training experts who can go out and spread the word further so that we can expand on our network. Because if we can get the kids to know about these things, they're going to spread the word for us. They'll tell their grown-ups, they'll tell everybody in their lives. So we're working on really trying to get our message about, hey, this is happening, let's be safe, and let's have some cool science moments. Trying to get that word out there. And now, so some of the things we've done, we've had teacher trainings, we've had community volunteer trainings, and then we are working on putting together a map of all the different eclipse viewing parties in San Antonio, because we want to make sure that all these folks have somewhere in their neighborhood they can go, and that when the tourists look at that map, they're not all swarming one spot. We can spread the love and have some great sky moments.
Totally easy for one of the largest cities in the country, right? So all three of you have touched on something that I think is really important to just highlight, and that is, for the total eclipse, one of the reasons why we're expecting so many people to the Hill Country, one of the reasons why we're planning so vigilantly is because this is early April. It's not too hot, hopefully, not too cold, hopefully. Usually low humidity. The insects aren't quite biting as bad as they do in summer. It's peak bird migration, bluebonnet season, wildflower season. The bats start emerging. It is a perfect storm scenario. And right now, Texas, outside of Mexico, which is supposedly supposed to have better potential forecasted weather than us, but Texas is supposed to be the most clear potentiality on the day of the eclipse out of the entire 15 states. So hence why these folks are acting so fast, so quickly, pulling together so much in a short period of time for, 2-3 years of planning, ultimately for something that's going to, at its peak, last only 4 minutes and 26 seconds tops. So a lot of work. Randy, I want to come back to you. You mentioned the various agencies you're working with. With the number of agencies and the collaboration efforts, how is this somewhat different from maybe times when the agencies would collaborate on large-scale events? What sets this specific event apart?
I think the easiest way to answer your question is to tell you the approach we have taken. I liken it to a beautiful flower with a wonderful, lovely fragrance.
Can you hold up your mic a little bit closer?
Okay. I have hearing aids, and I'm terrified I'm going to get each one of you. It's going to sound like a fighter jet from one door to the other, but I'll try, get a little closer. But it's like the flower. It's fragrant and it's beautiful, and that we feel is the community and the Chamber of Commerce side, and that's the way we've approached it. They're doing the planning for all the events and the festivities that people are coming for. We're expecting all these people, and we want to keep them occupied. We want to give them something to do, something to have fun with. So we're having festivals, and the churches are doing things, and all the community groups. And then my side of it is the nutrient side of it that keeps that flower beautiful and fragrant. It's the policemen and the firemen and the EMS workers and the sanitation. Nobody wants to think about that. And again, I'm not trying to be doomy and gloomy, but we need to understand that it is an opportunity for challenges, and we're going to meet those challenges head on because we have so much support. We have support from the federal government. We have support from the state government. Our city and county fathers and leaders work together hand in hand to make sure this is going to be a good event. And let me just give you one example. We're expecting a lot of cars in Junction, Texas, population 2,517. So we have created a courtesy parking lot for everyone to park in, trying to mitigate some of the possibility of crashes and fender benders and whatever comes with that. And our local Council of Governments through Concho Valley Transit in San Angelo is providing transit buses that are going to run a loop shuttle for free through our whole community to the hotels and to all the events. Therefore, folks won't have to get their cars out. And so that's the collaborative effort we've tried to approach this entire thing, this entire event with it. Now, y'all see it as a wonderful thing. I see it as preparation for April 8th because everything we're told, that one is going to be much larger, have more impact on our community. We're told 2,517, 40,000 people could descend upon Junction, Texas from both directions. We have an interstate that runs through our county, so we're expecting issues. With that, we have extra policemen from the Department of Public Safety. We have extra medics coming in. Texas Department, our Division of Emergency Management, has sent us a couple of specialists that are helping us plan and draw on state resources like additional paramedics and ambulances and firefighters, and we're trying to put them on each side of the county so we don't have to run across each other trying to get to someone to help. And the thing that we're the proudest of, the judge sitting there, the judge received a grant for us to have a CERT team, if anybody is familiar with that, Community Emergency Response Team. And those are the people with smiling faces and answers to where do I get my car fixed, where is a good place to eat barbecue. We're having them down in the center of everything and letting them direct everybody to the activities. So leaving the responders, who are going to be stretched rather thin, to do what they do best, to relieve us of some of that duty of interacting. So my point is we started this in March, and we are cooperating with all of our contiguous neighbors, Menard County, Mason County, Edwards County that you mentioned earlier, and we're all collaborating and trying to share resources to make this an enjoyable experience for everyone. I'm an elderly gentleman now, and I have never seen an eclipse. I'm looking forward to it. My judge just informed me that the April 8th date, it happens to be my anniversary, and he said, you know what, you and your wife are going to rededicate your vows to April 8th. But at least it's not the pregnant lady, so I can deal with that.
Excellent. Just really quick, how many folks in here have seen a total solar eclipse before? Okay. So we got a few in here that it's not their first rodeo. Excellent. Rowley, you have an extensive amount of experience and background in STEM and have been working with Célébration Célestiale for quite a while now. How do you see the preparations for the various STEM events for the eclipse different from your standard STEM activities?
So the STEM nonprofits, these informal education groups, we're really good at throwing an educational party and having lots of fun things going on for folks. The challenge here is usually we schedule them on different days from each other. And now we're all trying to have big events on the same days. So the challenge here is usually we go to each other's events and support each other. Now we are looking for additional resources to support our events because we can't all be in the same place. There's just too many people who are going to be coming to these events. We need to have multiple. So it's definitely been a challenge to get everybody, even just putting ourselves on a map that we can distribute, but also then making sure we have enough resources, table activities, fun things for all these tourists to come and do. Because we've got folks here making sure that the tourists can be here safely. We got folks making sure the tourists know where to go, and now we got to have something for them to do in that moment of the eclipse. Because we got those 4 minutes of amazing, and then what else are you going to do that day? So we're throwing these big education parties, which again, in our wheelhouse, we love doing it, but now we're trying to do it in multiple locations at the same time with stretching our educational resources out across those locations. So that's definitely been interesting. The other side of it is in San Antonio, the city, only part of the city is in totality. So we're also looking at a situation where we're going to be trying to get a lot of folks from one side of the city to the other. And how do we have our educational efforts in totality? How do we get the school kids from one side of the city to the other so they can have this experience while we also have all our visitors trying to do the same thing? So there's just a lot of different pieces moving around. And one of the other challenges is, even though, like I said, this is, we throw education parties all the time, we're doing this in addition to all of those other education events that we already are doing. So this has definitely been a stretch for all of us. And coming together as a group with all the different nonprofits has definitely been helpful because we can swap ideas and really plan out where everything's going to be and who's going to be doing what.
So what I'm sensing is a public service announcement. If you don't know where you're going to be for the annular or the total eclipse or both, and you want to be in San Antonio and help out with events, see Rowley.
Yeah, if y'all got anybody who wants to come down to San Antonio and have some really cool education activities going, we got places for you to go.
Excellent. Well, everything you said is a perfect segue, especially with regards to bringing folks into an area. Blair, what have you done as far as making Burnet County stand out? Because there's, like I said, across the entire state, 85 counties on the path of totality. Most of the Hill Country is on the path of totality. A good portion is on the path of annularity. How has Burnet worked to set themselves apart and encourage folks to come for your events?
Sure. So in my humble opinion, Burnet County in the spring is popular no matter what. We are deemed the Bluebonnet capital. So we have folks coming our direction regardless. You add with the eclipse, our amazing bluebonnets, the fact that we have 5 lakes within our county, Reveille Peak Ranch, which is going to host Sea Texas Eclipse Festival, which is anticipated to bring around 50,000 visitors. Canyon of the Eagles has their Eagle Eye Observatory, and then we have several wineries that are offering special curated experiences for their eclipse viewers. All of those factors have essentially made my marketing job extremely easy. So instead, we have approached it from an angle of, instead of asking, how do we get them here? We want to know, once they are here, they're coming regardless. We don't have to market for them to come to our area. Once they are here, how can we ensure that they are going to have an enjoyable experience? Obviously, first and foremost, they are here for the eclipse. But similar to as Rowley said, they're staying for longer than just those 4 minutes or even just that day. So part of our marketing campaign has been Find Your Adventure. I believe that within Burnet County, whether you are an adrenaline junkie or a bird viewer or a wine connoisseur, we have it in our county for you to find your adventure. Our hope is to disseminate that information to all of these tourists that they will then be able to find their own unique adventure in accompanied with their eclipse experience.
Excellent. And I will definitely say that Blair is being very modest about the planning and the requirements that are of her for this, because the total solar eclipse occurs on Monday, April 8th, and Thursday starts Bluebonnet Festival, which most of you know is a highly attended event. So you have a doubleheader in that week.
Yes, I do. I will be touching on that in one of our later questions.
So as I mentioned a short while ago, the three of you, a lot of our Hill Country Eclipse team members have been planning this for years. What is it that you are hoping to continue within your communities, within your respective work, to kind of maintain the momentum of all of this, work, all of these convenings, the partnerships you formed, once these eclipses are over? I'm going to jump to you because I know you've got a lot to talk about.
Perfect. Well, then in conjunction with what Dawn just said, yes, 3 days later, we have our 41st annual Bluebonnet Festival. So first and foremost, part of our marketing tactic that we are really honing in on with our short-term rentals is come for the sun, stay for the fun. We're encouraging people to stay throughout that duration. That typically brings in about 40,000 visitors in and of itself. So another big effort that we have gone is to talk to all of the businesses, ensuring that they are able to operate and have deliveries and supplies, not only for the crowds that will be coming for the eclipse, but also that they will be able to successfully operate just 3 days later. Overall, I believe that the trajectory of tourism within Burnet County, as for a lot of the Hill Country counties, cities, it has the potential to kind of change our patterns as far as tourism goes in the future. I think if we are able to turn these obstacles that Randy was speaking on into opportunities, and we can focus on that and leave these people feeling that they were welcomed and that they had an enjoyable experience, we're enticing them to come back and find their adventure another time.
Excellent. Same question for you, Randy. This is a whole different side of training for a lot of your folks. How do you see this experience sort of permeating after the fact?
Well, once again, Junction, Texas is a welcoming community, and we like visitors. I hope you didn't get the wrong idea of what I said, but and how many of you know, I'm sure most everyone, that Junction is called Junction because it's the junction of two rivers. And so we welcome folks to come. They love our rivers, and they come and they hunt and they stay. And somebody was telling me just yesterday that there was a gentleman who looked homeless in a parking lot, and he said to the man walking by, he said, "What's the name of this town?" And the citizen said, "It's Junction." he said, boy, there sure are some nice people here, and then just turned around and walked away just as quickly. So we want to keep that going, and that's to be welcoming, to be inviting, as I said, to ask people, have people to answer questions, direct them, take care of the things they want to know and the needs that they have, and they'll tell other people, and they'll come back for that, for our festivals, and we have quite a few of those.
I would imagine you have a lot in the works.
Yeah, because for education, it's so much easier to get people excited about learning science when they just saw something really cool. So for us, the eclipses are the starting point. Everybody, we're getting all ready for these eclipses. We're thinking about this big event, and then we've gotten everybody excited, and we've had this great moment. How do we roll that forward? So our Celebration Celestial is actually a year long, going from September through August. And so we're planning on extending that space learning further out. And then after that, we've already started discussing, okay, so after we've had our year of space awesome, how do we continue with having a yearly science education focus that all of our different organizations can get in on, so our whole city, our whole region is focused on one core idea. And we've already started thinking about after that, well, we want to get into climate, land stewardship, sustainability. So we're hoping to be able to take some of these programs that we've started, some of these collaborations that we've got going, and then keep it going and keep building on it.
Fantastic. I can't wait to hear more about that. So now the question I'm very curious about, although I think I know Rowley's answer, but where are y'all planning to be for the annular and for the total eclipses?
So annular, I am going to be at the Witte Museum out in our driveway because that is the best viewing location. We were out there like, where's the sun? And our building blocks the view from most of our campus. So we're going to be out in the driveway of the Witte Museum for the annular eclipse. And then for total solar, I'm still sorting that out because it depends on what exactly our Alamo STEM ecosystem is doing. I know I'm going to be in totality with kids, probably with some cool telescopes and having a lot of fun.
Sounds great. Do you know where you're going to be, Randy?
In my bunker. No, it's
Do you have
really,
room for another person?
Yeah, and getting married, rededicated, but revows. I'm just going to make sure, Judge, that she says I do before you ask me, okay? Because I think it's a trick. I really and truly do. Yeah, okay, it's a secret. Don't tell her. Don't anyone tell her. After 40 years, you think she should have had enough, but no, she wants to continue, bless her heart. But again, we'll be in the command center with all the decision makers, but we're going to find time to sneak outside. Instead of the radio, we're going to take a walkie-talkie outside. We're going to see this, and we're going to enjoy it. And I look forward to it again. I've never seen one, and hopefully we're going to learn a lot from it. So make notes because, 400 years before this comes around again with this clarity, or the skies the way they are, and so we're going to take notes so the guy who takes my place will have fun with it as I am.
Excellent. Blair?
For the annular eclipse, I will actually be at one of our festivals happening on that day. We have a ton of outdoor festivals happening on October 14th. And so I will be passing out glasses and just really ensuring that everybody understands the safety component that comes into play, especially with the annular. As for the total solar eclipse, my two kids will not be at school that day, and I am hopeful that by that point I will have executed all of my resources to make sure everything's running as smoothly as possible, and I will be at home outside watching the eclipse with them.
Fantastic. So I want to thank the three of you for being up here, and thank you for all the work that you're doing in the process of preparing for these events. It is a tremendous undertaking. I've been astounded at all the work that your communities, that your groups have done. It's just tremendously impressive. I'm so hopeful for these two events. I'm so glad we're only having to do this once, as opposed to some other communities that are on the path in 2024 and we're in 2017. But we want to take some time and see if you guys have any questions. I'm going to steal your mic, Randy. Okay, perfect. Who's got questions?
So I'm really curious about the expected timeline of folks arriving here. We have a lot of them. You're saying, we could have over 1 million. When are they going to start coming and when are they going to leave? I know you've got, and I don't mean that in a negative sense. It's just, what as residents can we expect? When will the roads start to be plugged up and all of that? For those of us who plan on traveling to a retreat in the hill country, I want to make sure I can get there.
Do you want me to? I would venture to say we probably all have roughly the same answer. I have been telling people on our Tips at a Glance, we are anticipating travel from that Thursday, the 4th, through that Tuesday, the 9th, is when we're really anticipating things to hike up.
So the incoming guests, that is going to, like Blair said, starting on Thursday, you might have some diehards coming in Wednesday. It's going to be slow. It's going to be somewhat of a bit of a trickle. It's going to increase as we get into the weekend, especially because a lot of communities are doing multi-day events over the weekend. So you're going to start seeing a lot more traffic and activity going into the weekend. You're probably going to get some stragglers that wake up Monday morning on April 8th, realizing they're on the wrong side of the path, making their way across cities like San Antonio or Austin that are only partially on the path. But really, if you can, stay where you are on that Monday for as long as possible, ideally into the late afternoon or evening, you'll have the best chance of being able to make it back home with maybe a little bit of traffic, but not nearly as much as if you were to leave from where you are right after totality or right after the end of the eclipse.
This is for Randy. Hey, it looks like you have your, over here, to your right, there we go. Looks like you have your hands full with planning for a bunch of folks. One thing I did not hear is, do you expect a lot of campers? And, a lot of folks impacting the grasses and things like that, and the higher risk of fire, grass fires and stuff. Any thoughts on that? Maybe reaching out to TIFMAS or give them a heads up for, extra help that might be needed. I know it's not the big grass fire time of the year, but there could be some things happening in that area. Thanks.
That's a real unknown for us. Now, I know we have landowners who are leasing a corner of their property out for 1 night, 2 nights. Our folks that live in our county, as most of your landowners, are very wise when it comes to land management and usage, particularly fires. That's one of the big concerns we have, and we're asking all the folks that are leasing out a corner of your land for campers, primitive campers, I think they're called, to be mindful of fire because it spreads so quickly. Hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 more good rains right before. But that's one of the issues is fire that we're concerned about. And the other is traffic. We're concerned that some people are going to, once the event begins or as they become aware of it, they're going to pull over on the side of the road. We're concerned that that could possibly start grass fires, the catalytic converters. We've asked TxDOT, and they have agreed to do an extra mowing right before both eclipses to keep the grass down. And again, time of year and everything. But it is something that has gone into planning, and that's the area that we ask for citizens to assist us with. The other thing about the lands is trespassing. Some people are not going to understand about trespassing. They don't know what the purple post at the gate means. So we're educating folks to be a little bit tolerant of that, and we may be busy. We may not be able to get out there to answer your complaint quite as fast as you think we should, because of the numbers of calls we're going to be getting. So that, and lastly, wildlife. Our hospital has put aside an extra measure of snake bite venom, anti-venom, because we're going to have that. We're going to have hills that people are going to say, man, that's the best spot in the world to watch this, and they're going to fall off of it. So again, I am Mr. Doom and Gloom, but that's my job. I'm paid to look forward to issues and try to resolve them, try to mitigate them, or prepare for them. So I have a little different perspective than everyone else.
I'm going to add to that is that I've had folks from the UK reach out to me and ask, where should I go to view the eclipses? And, completely different culture there, completely different environment. So I'm, reinforcing the importance of being a little bit more flexible with trespassers who might not understand the concept of trespassing, or being ready for the snake bites, because again, people just don't know the area as well. We've got tourists coming from all over the world for this, which is a great chance for us to shine.
Exactly.
Ron Kennan.
Hi, what are y'all doing with respect to making sure you have adequate vision protection for the annular, which is only less than a month away? Because people looking at the sun will need that protection if they're really out there during the height of the eclipse.
I guess that's for me. We have done quite a campaign of telling everyone that will listen to us, either on the Chamber of Commerce website, in person, handing out flyers. We've had numerous community meetings where people have showed up and asked questions and planned. TxDOT, one of our planning partners, has provided us with thousands of glasses that we're giving out. We've given them to every student in our school system for brothers and sisters, parents to take home with them, with the reminder, please save them, because we're going to be doing this again in April. The hospital is going to have, not in physically there, but is going to have a retina specialist. That's going to be the biggest area that we're concerned about. So for those of you who have friends who haven't heard about this, and believe me, there's still a bunch of folks that aren't aware of this occurrence, tell them welders, helmets, glasses, 2, 3, 4 pairs of sunglasses, cameras with filters do not work. You must have the Eclipse glasses. I was happy to see them here, and other folks are giving them away, because that's the one thing that we are very, very concerned about, is somebody's going to look directly into the sun and get permanent eye damage. So please pass that word to anyone that you can.
The STEM ecosystem is only putting events with safe viewing on our map. If you don't have a way of having safe viewing, we're not putting you on our map. So a lot of different organizations have viewers, as we said, that we're going to be handing out. It depends on which organization, what they're doing, how they found the funding for that. But then we also have been really working on education around indirect viewing methods like pinhole. I don't like using the term viewers, because then it makes it sound like you can look through it. I use the term projector, so pinhole projections, or even using your hands to cast shadows that you can see the eclipse shadow through. But yes, we're working on making sure that everybody, one, knows they need some way of safe viewing, and then two, if you're coming to a San Antonio, an Alamo STEM ecosystem event, you're going to have safe viewing there.
I know that our county as a whole has purchased 25,000 viewing glasses that we have already disseminated to all of our short-term rentals. Knowing that they will all be booked, we have created grants within nonprofits that we have within our county, as well as all of our schools, and our libraries as well have a private grant that they have, and closer to the date, they will be passing out glasses in all of their book exchanges that they get.
And I just want to add for a moment, I want everybody to take a moment, look at the viewers that you picked up and find the logos in them. There's one that says ISO, there's one that says CE. Those are the logos that tell you you've got the real thing. There is a standard for those Eclipse viewers, and back in 2017, there were a lot of counterfeit viewers out there that were not standard, are not meeting the standard for solar viewing. So please, please, please make sure if you are out there sourcing viewers that you find those logos, make sure they are meeting that standard.
Which all of your glasses that you have today are. Thank you guys for being up here for answering.
No, I can't not do this. You know that I like to talk. But let us all address one thing. We've been fortunate. We've had astronomers and we've had psychologists and sociologists on our planning teams. Everybody's nodding their head because they know what I'm about to say. They tell me that part of the experience is to take your eyes off for a second and look at the folks around you, that you will see some interesting reactions from people. I've heard some people will laugh, some will cry. Nature gets involved in this in that cows will not give milk that day. You better buy some eggs because I've been told chickens will go to roost, and remember that for a couple of days. Dogs may run, hide, and howl. So again, it's kind of a double feature. You get to see that and you get to see folks around you. But with that in mind, some folks may have, was it a break with reality we're calling it? So we have some folks on standby to be able to counsel people that do have a bad reaction to it. So that's something you might just kind of consider. One, look around. Two, if you know someone that could be affected by that, to kind of keep your eye on them and tell them what to expect.
Thanks for adding that. All right. Thank you so much.